Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really unique educational framework today, specifically designed for 8th graders from the heroesmartacademy. We're going to explore how this curriculum takes a massive, foundational science topic, how the sun acts as the ultimate power source for our entire planet, and actually connects those literal physical laws of the universe to the moral choices we make every single day. It's a wildly fascinating approach that blends hard thermodynamics with some deeply reflective philosophy. So let's just dive right in.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the grand solar blueprint, the 3 ways heat travels, balancing Earth's temperatures, the solar-powered water cycle, and finally, we'll look at why education needs morality. All right, Section 1, the grand solar blueprint, Earth's ultimate power source.
To start things off, I want you to picture Earth without the sun for a second. It would just be a freezing, totally lifeless rock floating in the dark vacuum of space, right? Well, the Heroes Smart Academy lesson tackles this stark reality by bringing in a quote from Genesis 1:16. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day. They used the specific text to illustrate their core theme. And that theme is the idea that the sun isn't just some random star burning out there in the void. It's part of an intentional, purposeful system designed to bring warmth and life to our atmosphere. In this framework, every single beam of sunlight has a very specific job to do to keep our world running.
Moving right along to Section 2, 3 ways heat travels, moving energy across the planet. So how exactly does all that vital solar energy actually get around once it reaches Earth? Well, energy transfer is essentially the hidden engine of all our weather. The curriculum breaks it down into 3 specific methods: radiation, conduction, and convection. And understanding these mechanics, it's absolutely crucial. It's the key to knowing why the wind blows, why clouds form, and really, why the weather changes outside your window every single day. First up, we've got radiation. Think about a space heater. You know how it warms you up from across the room without you even touching it? The sun operates on that exact same principle, just on a massive cosmic scale. It radiates energy across 93 million miles of the cold vacuum of space. Traveling at the literal speed of light as electromagnetic waves, it takes about 8 minutes for that energy to finally hit Earth's surface, where it's either absorbed or reflected right back.
Now, once that solar radiation is absorbed, it deeply warms up the land and the oceans. But how does that heat spread from the ground up? That brings us to conduction. Conduction is the transfer of heat through direct physical contact. Think about when the sun is just baking the dirt or the pavement outside. That surface gets incredibly hot, right? Well, the individual air molecules that directly touch that hot surface get warmed up through conduction. It is an immediate, physical handoff of thermal energy right there at the surface layer of our planet.
But the heat doesn't just stay trapped down in the dirt. And this is where the true magic of our atmosphere really kicks in. Enter convection, the movement of heat within fluids. And yes, quick science reminder, the air we breathe actually counts as a fluid just as much as water does. So, as the air near the ground gets heated up by conduction, it expands, it becomes lighter, and it naturally rises into the sky. Then, cooler, heavier air sinks right down to replace it. This creates a continuous, looping cycle, massive currents moving huge amounts of energy up and down through our skies and our oceans.
Let's ground this in something we've all probably experienced. You know when you're at the beach and you burn your bare feet on the hot sand? That is conduction, direct contact with a heated surface. But what about that refreshing ocean breeze you feel immediately after? That's convection at work. The warm air over the hot sand rises and the cooler air from the ocean rushes in to take its place. So you are literally standing right in the middle of a massive global heat transfer cycle. How cool is that? Which brings us nicely to Section 3, balancing Earth's temperatures, convection currents in action. Let's zoom out from the beach for a second and look at the entire globe. Why is this convection process so absolutely critical for our survival? Well, it's because our planet is heated really unevenly. The equator gets a direct, intense blast of solar radiation, while the poles get very little. Without convection, the equator would literally burn up and the poles would freeze totally solid. Instead, these massive convection currents in our atmosphere elegantly distribute that heat from the equator outward. They act like a giant global thermostat that keeps our entire planet livable and perfectly balanced. Next up is Section 4, the solar-powered water cycle, an elegant and sustainable system.
So the sun doesn't just manage our global thermostat, it's actually the primary engine for the water cycle too. And it follows this perfect sequence. First, the sun heats the vast oceans. Second, that thermal energy causes water to evaporate. And third, that invisible vapor rises, cools down, gathers into clouds, and eventually drops the rain that sustains all life.
The curriculum highlights this as a highly elegant, sustainable design. It's a cycle that effortlessly renews itself day after day, year after year, providing life-giving water to plants, animals, and humanity. And finally, Section 5, Why Education Needs Morality, connecting cosmic order to personal choices. Okay, so now that we've explored how perfectly ordered the physical universe is, from the convection currents to the water cycle, the HeroesMart Academy lesson does this really fascinating pivot. They ask their students a profound philosophical question. What is the point of being smart and highly educated if you just continue to make bad choices that hurt yourself and others? It's a big leap, right? The curriculum argues that if you have all the scientific education in the world but completely lack a moral compass, you are dangerously out of balance. And that brings us to the absolute core philosophy of the series we're exploring today. Education without morality will hurt. Think about the Earth again for a second. Just as the planet requires massive convection currents to distribute heat safely so it doesn't burn up, this framework suggests your mind requires a strong foundation of morality to guide your education safely. Raw intelligence, much like raw, unfiltered solar heat, is incredibly powerful, but it needs a functioning internal system to distribute it wisely and productively, rather than destructively. To really illustrate this point, the lesson shares a promise from Romans 8:6-7. To set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace. According to the text here, keeping your mind spiritually grounded provides a profound inner peace. It's an intentional mirror of the harmony and sustainability of those beautiful weather systems we just studied. Just as the physical world finds peace in the delicate balance of thermodynamics, the curriculum suggests that the human mind finds peace in the balance of education and moral integrity. So as we wrap up today's explainer, the curriculum leaves its students with one final provocative question, and I'll pose it to you. How will you keep your own internal weather balanced today? The lesson ultimately challenges learners to take the incredible mechanics of radiation, conduction, and convection and mirror them in their own lives, keeping their internal thermostat steady and using their education to bring life and peace to the world around them. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating source material today. And as always, keep learning.